Have you ever wondered how to create characters that leap off of the page and straight into your audience's heart? Well, look no further than the story we're talking about today, Tress of the Emerald Sea. Welcome, Scribes of the Extraordinary, and today we're going beyond entertainment and diving deeper into the craft of storytelling to help you write characters that really resonate with your audience. Today we're going to be diving into the story of Tress of the Emerald Sea. I will do my best to keep spoilers as minimum as possible. If you've not read this book, highly recommend reading this book. This is the first Brandon Sanderson book that I have read, and I am now slowly working my way through the Cosmere. So we're going to be talking about Tress of the Emerald Sea and what makes these characters in this world building. World building is incredible, but we're going to be focusing on the characters today. So Tress is a hero that is completely ordinary. She herself says there's nothing special about her, but that's what makes her such a special protagonist. She's no incredibly powerful hero. She's not a skilled fighter. She's not some kind of magic user. She's not a warrior. She's not a chosen one. She's not nobility. She's not royalty. She's a window washer. And her life is as boring can possibly get. But lesson number one that we can take from Tress is embrace the power of simplicity. Tress isn't born with some special powers or grand destiny. Her strength truly lies in her simplicity and her relatability. She has spent so much of her time doing menial labor for a living to help support her family that she thinks all the time about everything. So her critical thinking is incredibly well developed, and she's practical. So when situations come her way, she thinks through, okay, this is the information I have. What is the best possible outcome I can do with my capabilities and the information provided? So the tip on this one is to create characters with relatable traits that will really connect and resonate to your readers. Simplicity is not a bad thing. Tip number 2 is cultivate critical thinking. There are so many stories with teenage protagonists. I'm not dissing stories with teenage protagonists. I'm currently writing one. It can often fall into this trope of, oh, they're a teenager, so they're impulsive and they just jump in without thinking. Well, it's really refreshing to read a story where a character actually critically thinks through problems. Tress uses her intelligence to navigate challenges. Her ability to think critically is what sets her apart and what makes her such a powerful character. So a tip for this is create characters who are problem solvers and will solve puzzles in a creative way. Going into a little bit of what the book is actually about, Tress is on her way to try to save Charlie, the man that she loves. Their relationship is so cute. I'm like, the first chapter, I'm like, are they friends? Are they more than friends? Are they friends who want to be more than friends? This is adorable. They're both dorks, and it's great. But she ends up on a pirate ship, and that's what most of the book is about, is this window washer girl on a pirate ship surrounded by to her ruthless pirates. And she's completely, like, physically incapable because she's just a normal girl. Side tangent. If you are writing a character who is young, who is inexperienced, who is a teenager, who's going on their first adventure, please don't make them like Superman level of capability with running or being able to survive a fight for so long. It's not realistic. But Tress cultivates creative thinking. So develop characters who solve problems creatively, knowing their limitations and working around them. Tip number 3 is portray authentic fear and growth. Tress is very afraid. of the spores in this world, which, diving into the world building a tiny bit, because big part of the story, the world's oceans is not made of water, it's made of spores. And if water touches the spores, they erupt violently into different things. She's on the Emerald Sea, so they erupt violently into vines. Therefore, you can't inhale spores or drop a bit of water on them, or they will take over the entire area. Very dangerous. She fears these things, as every sane person does so. But she realizes, I'm terrified of this. I'm going to respect this, but I still need to use it. She overcomes her fears while still maintaining a healthy, authentic fear. Her whole journey is about overcoming obstacles that she's afraid of, and she voices that she's afraid of. Another side tangent, she voices that she's afraid in not like an annoying, whiny way. She's just like, yeah, I'm afraid of these spores. Continues to use them. So give characters a fear and give them an authentic fear, and showing them overcoming that fear and still having it while growing will make your character so much stronger. So tip is, allow your characters to feel that fear and showcase growth when they face it. We all have things we're afraid of. We all have fears. Your characters should have fears, but show how they overcome them. And another refreshing tip that Tress does really well is that this book showcases that she is afraid. Even as she's actively overcoming her fear, she's still fearful. It doesn't negate the fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but it is moving in spite of it. And now, tip number 4 is make decisions driven by purpose. Tress's actions are guided by a strong sense of purpose. Her goal is to go find Charlie. That is her goal. She joins a pirate ship because that is logically the best situation that she can go to between the two choices to get her to her goal. She works with the pirates. She ends up doing a very dangerous job on the ship. Why? Because that will make her important to the crew. They will keep her on the ship, and she can help them get to the destination she's trying to get to. She is always making decisions based off of her goal and off of her purpose. Her choices reflect her values and her determination. So here's a tip for you all. Ensure that your character's decisions align with their motivations and their goals. That's the whole point of a story, is we're following a character going after their goals and either achieving their goal or becoming a better person, whether that goal is achieved or not. So align decisions purposefully. Align these decisions with your character's goals. Make them make choices that make sense. Please make your characters make choices that make sense. If it doesn't help them towards their goal, they're probably not gonna do it. Tip number 5 is break away from conventional archetypes. The story of Tress really is brilliant with its cast of characters. The characters are very memorable. Even characters that you don't know the names of are really memorable and interesting. The narrator makes it a point that like main crew members' names, but all the other random crew members, he calls them Doug. So they're all Doug, and that's super memorable. Tress of the Emerald Sea does an excellent job taking archetypes and starting to twist and subvert it. There is a very fierce, dangerous captain who's a woman. Usually that's vice versa. She's not a cannon master, she's a cannon master assistant who is a terrible shot. So Tress of the Emerald Sea does a really good job taking archetypes and twisting them, or even creating brand new, really fresh Characters, it doesn't go, here is archetype for this character, here's archetype for this character, let's move on. It goes a lot deeper. Tress, in and of herself, is a teenage girl who doesn't suddenly get magic abilities. She doesn't suddenly become a physically adept fighter or anything. She gets stronger a little bit over time, as one would after working physically for months. You would develop more muscle, but she is in no way, shape, or form an adept fighter at all by the end of the story. She's not. She uses her strengths, she knows her weaknesses, and it's so refreshing. Actually, the narrator even makes mention how refreshing it is to have a character, a protagonist, a hero who actually thinks through decisions. Usually teenage protagonists, they're just like, gut instinct, let's go. Or high emotion, let's go. She actually thinks through things. So here's a tip for you for this. Experiment with character roles and archetypes and create something fresh and engaging for your narratives. Archetypes are not a bad thing, but I recommend you use them as a starting point, not as an ending point. So break away from the conventional archetypes and make something fresh. Number 6 is be innovative with your narrative structure. We have certain story beats that tend to show up in most every stories, but you can still be innovative with narrative structure because the narrator is so prevalent in this book. He'll say something and you'll sit there going, why did you tell me what's happening at the end of the book in the middle of the book? Oh no. So he'll just make statements about things that happen later on, and that adds to the anticipation and building up of what that event's going to look like. Play with narrative structure. Play with how you structure your protagonist. Play with how you structure your narrator. Play with how you drop hints throughout the book. You'll be surprised how you can captivate your audience by not sticking to the mold. Plot structure and narrative structure are very helpful tools, but they are in no ways supposed to be this rigid mold you stick to. A lot of stories can feel stagnant because they stick to these molds so rigidly. I was recently reading a book and I'm about and the last quarter of the book, and it just switched POVs. Usually when you have multiple points of views, you establish how many points of views you have within the first few chapters of your book. But this book was one character back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then this section in the last quarter of the book, it switched to a third point of view. And that took me off guard. It broke a narrative structure and made something more interesting. The fact that in Tress, the narrator is so prevalent in how he talks about and how he shares the story, and the fact that he's also a character in the story, he's able to give insights that only someone who's lived through the event could share and give little enticing tidbits. So have fun being innovative with narrative structure. Have fun thinking of ways that you can make things more interesting, that you can break the molds with your storytelling. Now, tip number 7 is give your characters distinct personalities and gimmicks. Gimmicks tend to not be seen as the best thing, but I think a gimmick can be very, very powerful if you allow it to be. But Tress, the reason why I remember so many characters from this story is because they all have gimmicks. Tress is very good at critically thinking and being practical. One of the characters' gimmick is through writing instead of talking. Well, it's not writing, actually. He's typing on a tablet computer. For those of you who are Sanderson fans, I was going into this book thinking that it was fantasy, not that this is a planet that other people who don't live on the planet travel to and exchange tech with. I also didn't know who Hoyd was. Sanderson's really good at world building. My goodness. But give your characters gimmicks. The character of Hoyd is insane. He's lost his senses. Very brilliantly worded there. And then you have a character who's a cannon master assistant who is a terrible shot. And anytime she picks up a pistol, everyone's like, we're taking that from you. You're not going to be holding a gun, please, and thank you. So you have even all the characters who don't have names, they're just called Doug. And that is a very powerful gimmick. And it really helps you immerse in this weird, incredible world very well. So give your characters not only distinct personalities, but using a gimmick for your characters can really help highlight them. And this is going to come with the same caution as using archetypes is. Archetypes are a great starting point. Build, get deeper. Gimmicks are a great starting point. Build and get deeper. So give your character a distinct trait or quirk that really sets them apart from everyone else and enhances their memorability. You can really make some incredibly fun, memorable characters by giving them one unique thing. Ultimately, there are so many ways to enhance your characters. There's a lot that you can add. There's a lot that you can learn from reading. So I recommend read, read, read. Aside from actually writing, the best thing you can do as a writer is to read. And remember these 7 tips. Embrace the power of simplicity. Simplicity is not a bad thing. It can really enhance your characters. Cultivate critical thinking. Protagonists who think critically through problems, who know their weaknesses and are able to problem solve around those weaknesses are fascinating. Portray authentic fear and growth. Go ahead, have your character be actively, constantly afraid while they're going through something. Man, how relatable is that? And go, wow, you're terrified of that, but you're still overcoming that terror and doing it anyways? That's empowering. Make decisions driven with purpose. Please, please, please have your characters act towards their goals or on their values. Make your characters' decisions make sense. Break away from conventional archetypes. Use an archetype as a starting place if you want to, or just go for it and make a completely unique character that will probably be able to fit in some kind of archetypal role because that's how archetypes are built. But you can take an archetype, twist it, change it, add to it, and make something interesting. Be innovative with how you structure your narrative. Take some events from the end and tease them in the middle. Have a character who can bounce around between different things. Introduce a POV towards the end of your story. Whatever you do, if you're going to break out of the mold, make sure that it's intentional. Don't just willy-nilly do random stuff just to stand out. That's not going to make your story good. But you don't have to live within the mold of how narratives are supposed to be structured. You can have a really active narrator. You can have multiple POVs. You could have one. Have fun experimenting and trying something new for your story as long as it's intentional to make it stronger. And finally, use distinct personalities and use gimmicks. They really help your characters be memorable. I can tell you names of 4 characters of this book. 5. Okay, the longer I think about it. Several of the crew members' names I don't remember, but I can picture them very distinctly. I can hear their voice. I can hear how they talk. And I know their specific gimmick, and they're still memorable even if I don't quite remember their names because some of the names are kind of out there. Give your characters gimmicks. It'll help really solidify that memorableness. And once again, don't just stick with the gimmick. Go deeper, add more depth to your characters. So which of these 7 lessons are you going to incorporate into your story? What insight really resonated with you? And, let me know, what have you noticed in the story you're currently reading that can help you or other writers be a better writer? And if you had read Tress from the Emerald Sea, let me know who your favorite character is. If you have not read Tress of the Emerald Sea, I highly recommend. It is a great read. It's funny, it's witty, heartfelt. Oh, the characters are great. Tress is a wonderful protagonist. You're essentially watching a window washer kind of learn how to be a scientist and an engineer in a way. It's really, really cool. The end payoff is fantastic. And I didn't mention, Tress herself has a gimmick, and that gimmick is she likes to collect mugs and cups and all of these different things. So whenever someone has some kind of drinking vessel, it's described in great detail, and I really appreciate that. So even she has a gimmick as the main character. Well, if you like this video, I really appreciate a like and a subscribe, and don't forget, there are some resources for you all down in the description below. If you're working on your story for the first time, you're working on a longer work, and you're trying to figure out how to really craft a really strong story and character, there's going to be a character and story blueprint link in the description below. There's also going to be some free world building and writing style assessments down in the description below. But my scribes of the extraordinary, that's all I have for you today. I look forward to our next encounter as we continue our journey of going beyond entertainment, one step at a time.